is what trying something backwards is all about.
Our sixth contestant, Beverly Adams. It may sound far-fetched, but it's true. It may sound far-fetched, but it's true. Beverly Adams.
When I was told by the airlines that I could not be a stewardess because I was vertically challenged and did not meet their height requirement, I went to nursing school. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, for my first oral exam, I walked into a room of 5 examiners. I was poised, prepared, and confident until they asked the first question. My heart started pounding, my palms got sweaty, and my head was whirling as I tried to recall the answer. It would have been a grammarian's nightmare as I stood there saying ums and ahs, smacking my lips and double clutching. My name is. I was told to leave the room, get a drink of water, take some deep breaths, and return. On the other side of the room, of the door, were my classmates waiting their turn to take the test. When I tell them what happened, a Londoner looked at me and said, "Oi, Beverly, how comes you didn't look at your name tag, eh, mate?" I got over that embarrassment, passed the exam, and was given my first assignment to the operating room. My first day in OR, I was shown how to scrub, put on a cap, a mask, and a gown, and was ushered into a room where an operation was already in progress. Then I was told to stand in one spot, not to move, and not to touch anything. When the instructor left the room, the head surgeon looked in my direction and said, "Nurse, come here." There was nobody behind me. He was talking to me. Again, he said, "Nurse, come here." "Come closer, nurse." "Here, cat," she said. Instinctively, I put my arms out and caught the leg he had just amputated and fell to the floor with it. I was so happy when I got my second assignment, far away from flying limbs in the operating room, to a geriatric hospital in a beautiful, serene English countryside. It was there that I met Mrs. Jones, a woman who obviously had never seen a person before in her life. She thought that I was made of chocolate. One day, while I was taking care of her, she grabbed hold of my arm and started gumming me and saying, "Chocolate, chocolate." Unfortunately, Mrs. Jones died a couple of weeks later. My classmate, Maureen, and I had to get her prepared and shrouded. In the midst of all of that, Mrs. Jones' hands started to shake. Maureen and I dropped everything. We ran out of that room, down the hall, knocking people and bedpans over, across the yard to the dormitory, and upstairs to a room that we shared. It was there that the matron found us. Matron tried to explain what happened to Mrs. Jones, but I didn't want to hear it. All I knew was a dead body moved, and that was not supposed to happen. Matron lost the battle with Maureen and I and gave us the rest of the day off. Later that day, that afternoon, we were sitting looking out the window when we saw John, the meddlesome porter, a man who felt it was his duty to get student nurses in trouble, and he took great pleasure in doing so. He was pushing Mrs. Jones' body from the ward to the morgue, and it was on a trolley that we affectionately call the Paradise Express. Now, picture this. At the entrance of the morgue was a slight incline, and John was having all sorts of trouble pushing that trolley up that incline. As Providence will have it that day, it was snowing quite heavily, which made it even more difficult for John. Maureen and I opened the window wide and started laughing at John. He got so frustrated. He gave that trolley one last shove. He'd also forgotten to tie Mrs. Jones down to the trolley. She slid off, knocked him to the ground, fell on top of him, and there they were, face to face, in the snow. I just loved it, I did. We never had another problem at our John after that. Now, I don't know what stories I might have had to tell you had I not been vertically challenged and was allowed to be an airline stewardess. And the ones that I've told you here today may seem far-fetched, but I promise you they are true. Mr. Toastmaster.
Our seventh speaker, Arnold Kunst. The same, only different. The same, only different. Arnold Kunst.
Thanks very much. The two pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in one another's shadow. Khalil Gibran, the prophet. The Irish are far less ornate, saying pretty much the exact opposite. The fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and all you philosophers out there clear to the back of the room, I'll leave it to you to decide which of those two authorities is the more appropriate, as I set out to describe how Arnold the father and Barry the son, we are the same. Except when we're different. We are the same in that we're both handsome, excellent conversationalists, gifted with vast erudition, cultured, polished, urbane, suave. And like Barry the son, Arnold the father is a real man's man. I mean, what about them Niners? Yes, I know from whence sprang this articulate child. But we are different. I remember 1982, Barry was 5. In a moment of weakness, I decided to buy a digital watch. Now, some of you young people have digital watches, but you see this? 12 numbers, 3 hands move at different speeds. That's a real watch. What you have is a pretend watch. But I was young and naive, and I wanted to be trendy. What can I say? But on the day itself, we were really excited, Barry and I. Brought the thing home, took the watch out of the packet, and the directions. I was going to set the time. But you've seen those directions before. The more you look at those directions, the harder it is to read that small print. And after that, I'm scrolling down screens and turning dials and pushing buttons. I was all elbows and kneecaps trying to do this thing. Barry, of course, watching this whole thing, eventually says, "Daddy, will you let me help you?" And I'm thinking, he's just a little kid, but I only spent $9.95 on the thing. If he breaks it, he hadn't really done much. So, here, Barry, knock yourself out. 45 seconds. He hands it back to me. Not only is the time right, but there's a little box with a 13 in it next to a box with a JUL in it. He's got the right date as well as the right time. And I'm thinking, from whence sprang this nerdy child? But we are the same, in that we both show a profound respect for the power of the declarative sentence. I myself needed that power when I was a teacher at a California state prison. You spend your entire working day in a room outnumbered by 29 hard-bitten wife beaters and drug dealers. You'd better establish your authority from the get-go, because these guys only respect one thing, and that's brute force. So this is what I told them. You guys need to know that I have the belt in karate beyond black belt. You know, as some of you look like you don't believe such a belt exists. Well, it does. However, under pain of forfeiture of the belt itself, I am prohibited from telling you what I had to do to get it, what I must continue to do to keep it, because they don't just give this stuff away. They got standards. I can't even tell you the color of the belt, but you'd better know this. You step out of line once, and you're on the ground before you see my hands move. Yeah! They just laughed. Barry showed a similar prowess from a very young age, displaying dazzling creativity in the area of phone calls to complete strangers. And here, I have documented evidence. Now, some of you young people have never seen one of these. This is called a phone book. He would find somebody in here that he didn't know and call them up. Is this Bridget Ryan? Yes, you will win a certificate valued at 100 gallons of free gasoline if you can tell me the name of three cars that start with P. Plymouth, Pontiac, and Porsche. Sorry, they all start with gas. Click. Yes, I know from whence sprang this creative child. And this final characteristic should be a similarity, but isn't. You see, whenever Barry the son, like Arnold the father, is called on to deliver himself of his considered view, he invariably displays, except this time, invariably displays a keen, penetrating analytical insight that pierces unerringly with accuracy to the heart of the problem, with no wasted words and no excess emotion. Well, I was doing research for this talk, and I asked him, Barry, how do you see you and me as being different? And this is what he said. Unlike you, I don't need the limelight. And I'm thinking, from whence sprang this heretical child? Mr. Toastmaster.
Speaker number 8, Adam Burrell, It's a Trap. It's a trap. Adam Burrell.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, my gym is trying to kill me. If I had a lucrative life insurance plan, I would think my wife was trying to kill me, because this whole thing was her idea. One afternoon, I'm sitting on the couch reading, not sweating, not wondering if I'll be able to take more than 3 steps without collapsing after I close the book. No, simply reading quietly in comfort. That is what my afternoons used to look like. Let us pause to take a moment of silence for those afternoons. May they rest in peace. Well, my wife comes bounding through the door, grinning from ear to ear, glistening just a tad on the tip of her forehead. She dabs it and then begins to tell me of this wondrous gym she's discovered. It's called Orange Theory Fitness, she says with a flourish. And then she begins to outline the scientific benefits of this new, scientifically advanced gym. And now may I remind you that the Terminator was also the result of scientific advancement. She says, you get a trainer, oh, but they're really more like a scientist. You get your own heart monitor, and they put your heart rate up on a big screen. They send you an email after each workout summarizing your fitness progress. And you get a puppy. Okay, she didn't say that last one. But I figure, how bad could it be? Well, I was about to find out. First of all, the classes for this gym fill up quickly, so you have to book them in advance. They say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. But I think that a more accurate definition is having to book a class ahead of time and paying an arm and a leg for it so that you can be put through excruciating pain for an hour. When I first met my trainer, I was put at ease. He was a really nice guy. But I learned something that day. I learned that sadists can be very nice folks when you first meet them. The trainer said, all right, everyone hop on a treadmill. It will be a nice, easy start. Nice, easy start. Yeah, right. Within 2 minutes, I was sweating so much, it looked like somebody had dumped a bucket of water on my head. The guy next to me was bounding gracefully along, like he was part gazelle or something. At one point, he actually turned while he was running and says to the trainer, is there any way I can make this more challenging? More challenging? I couldn't believe it. So I turned to the trainer and I said, are we there yet? Finally, possibly out of pity for me, the trainer had us walk over to the weight floor. I say walk, but for me it was really more of a coordinated ball dragging motion. Once we got to the weight floor, the trainer then demonstrated the exercises we needed to do with the dumbbells. And he was tossing them in the air like they were so many toothpicks. His movements were as seamless as a ballerina's. When I was watching him, it seemed simple enough. And I was nodding my head with all the confidence in the world, I got this. But when I attempted to do the very same thing, my body was not working together at all. It was as though my limbs had suddenly decided to imitate Congress. And the trainer merely asked us to count to 30 reps. But for me, it was as though he was asking me to recite pi to the 30th decimal point. It's funny how working so hard you think you might collapse interferes with normal brain function. Speaking of interference with normal brain function, the longer I've gone to this gym, the more it has worked its way into other parts of my brain and other areas of my life. For example, I'll be at a Toastmasters meeting, and I'll think, how many lunges from here to the lectern? Or I'll think, I wonder if I can hold a squat through that entire table topic speech. What person thinks like this? It's even impacted my interaction with my 7-month-old daughter. She'll be lifting her rattle to her mouth, and I'm tempted to say, okay, rep it out. You can do this. Think of what motivates you. When she's reaching for her pacifier in her crib, I'm thinking, that's it. Work that core. You are the only one who can change you. These are not the thoughts of a normal, well-adjusted human being. My gym has done this to me. At this point, I figure I might as well resign myself to it. Also, I am afraid that if I stop going, my trainer will show up at my house at 2 in the morning and make me do ab work until dawn. My wife and I are still going to this gym together. And in truth, we love it. It has actually helped our marriage. You know, working so hard, you think you're on the brink of death, really brings you closer together. I did make a reassuring discovery, however, last time I went to the gym. I noticed a curious glass container affixed to the wall. And when I looked more closely, I saw that it contained a defibrillator. Well, at least now I know that if my gym does succeed in killing me, it'll be able to bring me back to life. Mr. Toastmaster.
Contestant number 9, Russ Steele. Too much of a good thing. Too much of a good thing, Russ Steele.
Have you ever done too much of a good thing? When you were a kid, did you eat the whole bag of Halloween candy at once and end up having it come back out later to haunt you? Bill, try to go much slower this time. Are you at Facebook more than their full-time employees? David Godin, Christy Barris, I'm specifically asking you, are you at Facebook more than the other full-time employees? It's very easy to do a little bit too much of something that we love. My friend Jeffrey tells me, Russ, people like you and me are Toastmasters contest junkies. I had to wonder if he meant that as a joke or as a wake-up call. I certainly had an addiction. I attended 106 Toastmasters contests in 3 months. I needed an intervention. One night on the way home from the contest, I had an aha moment. No more just listening to these speakers. I need to put their lessons into my everyday lives. I went to the next contest with a new sense of purpose. And then there was a speaker that caught my attention. His speech was based entirely around his butchering of Tim McGraw's Live Like You Were Dying. Let me share with you his riveting conclusion. I'm not saying that you should go skydiving or Rocky Mountain climbing or spend 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu. I'm just saying that life is precious and you never know how much we have left. I challenge you to live every day as if it were your last. Challenge accepted. I started making a list of the ways I would spend the last day of my life and putting them into action. The first day, I stayed in bed. That's it. The second day, I went shopping. You name it, I bought it. A jet ski, a 65-inch big screen TV, a bunch of guns that used to be owned by Elvis. When I ran out of cash and my major credit cards were maxed out, I asked, do you take checks? Would you worry about overdraft fees if there was no tomorrow? Living every day like it's your last is exhausting work. The third day I was doing it, I didn't even wake up until 11 o'clock. And I was starving. I made my way to my local McDonald's, and I approached the counter. Good morning, welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order, sir? That's right, there's nothing wrong with the drive-through speakers. I would like 2 Egg McMuffins. And stop, sir, breakfast hours end at 10:30. I pulled out one of my shiny new guns and set it on the counter. I would like the eggs on the McMuffin to be over easy. And I've always wanted to have breakfast with fries and a Coke. It was the most delicious breakfast of my life. It tasted like victory. So I may bail in time for the next speech contest. And yet again, another speaker was speaking directly to me. Believe in the reality of achieving your greatest dream. With hard work and persistence, you can accomplish anything. In the words of Winston Churchill, never, ever, 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 ever give up. I knew I had given up too soon on my greatest dream, to play in the NBA. I started saying positive affirmations to myself to make myself believe. Michael Jordan missed more winning shots than he made. Me too. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school team as a freshman. Me too. Shaquille O'Neal is over 300 pounds and over 40 years old. Me too. With a new pair of Air Jordans and an air of invincibility, I boarded an airplane to Chicago, determined that nothing was going to stop me. Not my 1-inch vertical jump. I could improve and show them that white men can jump. Not the fact that everyone was laughing at me. I would make them believers. Unfortunately, before the end of the first day, I suffered a career-ending restraining order. There's a time and a place for everything. I want to thank all of you for giving me the time here tonight at the Gaia Hotel and Spa to work off the last 5 to 7 minutes of community service. For what they call the McMuffin incident. And I call controlling my temper. Looking back, I didn't get the results the speakers promised me, but I did learn some lessons, so let me leave by sharing them with you. First, free advice is worth exactly what you pay. Second, if you want excellent customer service, speak softly and carry a big gun. Third, some of you need to forget, just do it, and just give up. But finally, there's this. Bill, if you eat that whole bag of Halloween candy, you're going to get sick. Christy and David, if you spend all day and all night on Facebook, you're going to end up disconnecting from your real life. And to all of you, my fellow Toastmasters, if you attend too many speech contests, you will end up with criminal convictions, a restraining order, and shattered dreams. I'm begging you, don't become like me, and try not to do too much of a good thing. Toastmaster.
The ballots have been counted. Tonight's third place winner in the District 39 Humorous Speech Contest, please join me in congratulating Beverly Adams. Your third place winner, ladies and gentlemen. Beverly. Photo. Thank you. Our second place winner in the District 39 Humorous Speech Contest, please join me in congratulating Donnie Crandall. And the winner of tonight's District 39 Humorous Speech Contest, I guess it's time for all of us to start living like we was dying. Russ Steele. Finally, allow me to thank you for the opportunity to serve as your Toastmaster for tonight's wonderful contest. To close our conference, please join me in welcoming our District Director, George Jurasik.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. You did an excellent job. I just want to say one more thank you to Donna Lewis and Joey Waldrop for an excellent job. Big hand. Have you guys enjoyed this conference? Whoa! This has been, they set the bar. Donna, I don't know if you can top this. This is the best yet. And it's been incredible. But one thing I want to do is thank each and every one of you for driving all the way up. We were questionable every time we come up here. We're like, oh no, we're worried. But Division C always comes through. Every member of the club comes through. And you drove all the way and stayed overnight and stayed with us. And it was an incredible club. So thank you so much for you making the trip all the way up here. And then finally, one more thing is to turn on your cell phones. Oh. Oh, get the survey. And then Louise is back there saying she will take money from you for the CDs. And if you want a copy of the CD for the contest. Turn the badges in. Don't